Now, Alabama played Oklahoma.
Yes, they did.
I don't even think we can say they played them. More, they kind of just got systematically steamrolled.
Yeah, I was not the whole as I was watching the game, this is a tough spot. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like to me, it was like none of it computed. Still, I don't know how it happened. I have no analysis on this game. Like it was bad. It was bad, and I can't figure it out. I think, because it's you get used to a certain standard, and obviously when, with the coach, new coaching staff and everything, that standard is probably going to drop a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of cognitive dissonance among the players, not to get too nerdy, but like, you go from this very strict, very rigid system that everybody, Saban's whole process was so ingrained in the entire program. And then DeBoer comes in with a new system. I'm not even talking X's and O's. I'm just talking about
The culture.
the culture around the program, which is, I'm not saying it's any better or worse than Saban's, but it's very different. And so I think there's some dissonance going on, and with the players. And so again, not saying that any of this is DeBoer's fault or anything like that, but it feels like this is going to be that this might be what we end up getting for a while out of Alabama, unless there's some major changes in the offseason. But I've watched Alabama play games like this before, but usually, but the coach's name was Mike every time I've watched Alabama play these games recently. This was a DeBose Shula era game. I haven't experienced one of those in a while. You've never experienced one of those. I wouldn't recommend.
No, I
Not great.
hated it.
Not great.
I kind of made the point to my dad while watching that this was the worst they played since uh the 2013
Since the last time they got blown out by Oklahoma.
since the last time they got blown out by this same team,
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma, in 2013 in the Sugar Bowl. Um, I would even argue that they played better in the Vandy game. At
Yep.
least the offense was working in the
Mm-hmm.
Vandy game.
Yep.
Offense could do diddly squat here.
Wasn't
They
great.
just decided to run the exact same play call with Milrow every single time on a quarterback run, which, shock horror, Oklahoma knew was coming because as bad as Oklahoma's been this year, Brett Venables is still one of the best defensive minded coaches in all of college football.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, he's going to see what it coming because that's what Alabama's bread and butter has been this year. And this is probably knee jerk, but I am at the moment so ready to throw Nick Sheridan into the sun. I've hated the
Mm-hmm.
offensive play calling for a majority of this year. I just
Mm-hmm.
think it's been too one dimensional. And the worst part about this is at one point they're down 24-3. And during the second half, they had shown glimpses of just designed runs with Milrow and Jam, and it was just kind of working. But then they would abandon it and punt. And it was like Jam and Justice had great work. Like it was working. They were getting 5 and 6 yards on first down. They were getting ahead of the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And was it sustainable? No, you can't run the ball every single possession.
Why not?
But because we were down 24-3. But like the issue is they didn't do it in the first half. And it's like it just comes down to an inability to do what worked and trying to stick to your guns because you think that's what's right. And that wasn't what was right. This is Milrow's worst game in an Alabama uniform. I would even hedge to say this is a lot worse than that Texas game last year
Mm-hmm.
that everyone got on his ass about. He was hot garbage. It was bad. It was embarrassing to watch. It was I legitimately haven't seen them. I don't think I've ever seen them play this bad because I never watched the 2013 Sugar Bowl because I was 7 years old and it was past my bedtime. I've never seen Alabama play this bad in my
I
life.
trust Kalen DeBoer. He's not an idiot, and as much as Alabama fans are upset, I guarantee you nobody's more upset than that coaching staff. So I'm going to give him time. This is going to be a couple of years. It's going to be sort of a rocky transition. This is part of the rocky transition. Looks like the recruiting is still kind of keeping up at a national level. They have they have a top three class right now. So I am not hitting the panic button. I definitely, like I said, I trust DeBoer. Nobody,
Yeah.
you don't spend a couple decades winning and then just forget how to do it. But it's a slightly different place that he's in right now. And just, past performance doesn't necessarily guarantee what's going to be happening in the future. But I mean, I still think that I still think that this could be fine, but as I've said to you a couple of times, you know, this is sorry, spoiler alert, this is sort of snobby Alabama fan incoming here, but this is sort of what it feels like to be a fan of pretty much every other college football team. Like it's just they're not going to be perfect every week,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of how it goes. Sometimes you have whole years that are just not great. This is just what college football is like for pretty much every single team ever, except for Alabama over the last 14 years.
I think I trust DeBoer. I trust Womack too. Defense has been really good the last few games. I don't think a lot of what happened this game is their fault.
There's some
There's holes, but
some things I don't love about it, but that's
but
okay.
also
I
that
mean,
this wasn't a lot of this game outside of the first half wasn't the defense's fault. Defense shaped up in the second half. Like Oklahoma couldn't do much. The only time they scored was off of a Milrow interception that got them down on the 14-yard line and then a pick six.
yeah,
But
okay.
like other than that, Oklahoma didn't do anything in the second half. And you could say that that's Oklahoma knowing they didn't have to do anything in the second half. But defense, honestly, I don't even think is as big of an issue. But I think Sheridan needs to be fired into the sun, and I trust DeBoer. But this was bad. This Bama shouldn't be playing in the playoffs. I think if this team was anyone other than Alabama, they would not be ranked 13th in the country right now.
No, objectively, they're right now. Yeah, no, I
They
agree.
do not deserve to be ranked. And so we'll see what happens. They got Auburn at home this week, which they should win. Should win. I swear to God, if they lose to Auburn, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
But
it's all right. It's all right.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm more of a basketball fan anyway.
Yeah, they beat Houston last night. Great
Okay,
win.
roll tide.